move on to the old business agenda. We're going to go ahead and start, Ms. Cook, if we can, with 08-10-15, which is a request to review and consider proposals received for the sale and development of the property of the city-owned property located at 165 Oxmoor Road. Is handled by Mr. Greg Cobb in the BEZ department, requested by Fred Hawkins. Chair would welcome a motion on this particular item.
I think it's just point of order, just as council president, you would report it out from work session.
Okay.
And then it wouldn't require a second
Well,
from work session.
thank you, I appreciate it. The report from the work session would be that, as motion by Mr. Moody and second by Mr. Hawkins in work session, the council chose to reject these two offers and reopen the request for consideration to be closed on February the 15th, 2016. And like you say, that carries its own motion, so all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is unanimous. Okay. We will move on to 18-11-15, public hearing tonight at 6 p.m. to consider declaring the property located at 506 Shades Creek Parkway a public nuisance due to the violation of ordinances 1910 and 1750 excessive growth. Scott Cook, our enforcement officer with BEZ. Mr. Cook.
Yes, sir. First letters in the property was posted on September the 29th. It went to the personal representative to the estate, Dustin Millay, at 105 Portside Drive in Birmingham. Those notices, certified letters did not get, notice didn't come back with a signed form. And then on November 16th, when the public hearing was set, we sent out more letters stating that the public hearing would be held and that the property was still in violation. Mr. Millay did receive his certified letter. He did call me last Friday, had a long conversation. He was basically told me that he apologized for the way that the property was and that he would try to get somebody out there this past weekend to take care of it. Couldn't find anybody, that he would be out there doing it himself. As of about 2:30 this afternoon, no work had been done on the property. So the pictures you have before you were what was there at 2:30.
Point of order, excuse me, Mr. Cook, I did not open this public hearing, that's my mistake. So go ahead.
And that's basically where we're standing today.
All right, any questions of Mr. Cook while he's up here? Okay. Anyone else that would like to speak to this matter in our audience? Okay. There being none, we will close this public hearing and welcome comments from the council. There being none, we either need to drop or adopt a resolution declaring this a public nuisance.
I would move to declare the property located at 506 Shade Creek Parkway, PID 28-0017-2010021.000 a public nuisance.
All right, we have a motion from Mr. Moody. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Hawkins. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is unanimous.
Thank you.
That is that resolution 15-150?
Yes, sir.
15-150. All right, we'll move on to 08-11-15. Request for consideration to allow a 4,000 square foot tent to be erected for a special event held at Trinity United Methodist Church, 1400 Oxmoor Road. Requested by Victoria Tennyson, Trinity United Methodist Church, our battalion chiefs, Nick Hill, Fire Marshal Jim White, and the BEZ department. We'll start with a report. Mr. Hawkins.
Yes, the committee met last week and heard about the tent and got the report from the fire and police and everything was in order, and voted 4-0 to allow the tent size variance for the special event.
All right. Thank you. Okay, that's a motion from Special Issues. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Thames. Any further questions or comments? There being none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that passes 7-0, and that is 15-151. Okay. 01-1115, request for consideration for school zone signage for Creative Montessori School, requested by Britt Thames. And we will start with a committee report from Public Safety, Mr. Thames.
Yes, sir. The committee met and voted 5-0 to recommend installing 4 school speed limit signs. We created Montessori School, reduced the speed limit to 20 miles per hour between the hours of 7:15 and 8:30 a.m. and 2:15 and 3:30 p.m. on 28th Court South between Central Avenue and 16th Place South for the Montessori Way between 28th Avenue South and 28th Court South. The motion was made by me and seconded by Mr. Laws.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Kendrick, could we have a first reading?
Yes, sir. The ordinance of the regulated traffic and the speed of motor vehicles traveling on along the portion of 28th Court South between Central Avenue and 16th Place South, and Montessori Way between 28th Avenue South and 28th Court South within the city, between the hours of 7:15 a.m. until 8:30 a.m. and 2:30 p.m., 2:15 p.m. until 3:30 p.m. on Monday through Friday each day of the week, and to provide penalties for the violation thereof. That every person, firm, or corporation operating motor vehicle on along the portion of 28th Court South between Central Avenue and 16th Place between the hours of 7:15 and 8:30 and 2:15 and 3:30 on each day of the week shall not exceed the speed limit of 20 miles per hour. Section 2, that any person, firm, or corporation operating a motor vehicle on 28th Avenue South between 28th Court South and on along Montessori Way between 28th Avenue South and 28th Court South during the same times of the days as just mentioned in paragraph 1 above. On Monday through Friday shall not exceed the speed limit of 20 miles per hour. Section 3, the violations ordered upon conviction shall be punished as provided in Section 1 of the Code of Ordinances. Section 4, Q or shall erect or cause to be erected appropriate mark and line signs as provided in paragraph in Exhibit 1, which is attached as a map setting out the areas controlled by the speed limit ordinance. Section 5 of the part of the provision is declared to be unconstitutional, all parts are made full force and effect, and this ordinance shall come into effect once adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Kendrick. Chair would welcome a motion and a second for unanimous consent.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Thames, second by Mr. Laws. If we could have a roll call, Ms. Clerk.
Mr. Holland?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Thames?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Menefee?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Jones?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Laws?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Limbaugh?
Yes, ma'am. All right, so this will be ordinance 2584. And the chair would welcome a motion and a second for adoption of ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Thames, second by Mr. Laws. Ms. Clerk.
Mr. Holland?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Thames?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Mr. Menefee?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Laws?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Limbaugh?
Yes, so ordinance 2584 passes 7-0. And we'll move on to 02-1115. Request for consideration to review location of certain types of businesses within the city limits. Requested by Peter Wright and myself. We'll start with a report from Public Safety, Mr. Thames.
Yes, sir. The committee met and voted 4-0 to amend ordinance number 2486. It restricts the location of an ABC Class II lounge retail liquor licensed package store to include vape shops and tobacco shops as defined in ordinance 2582, the city's smoking ordinance. Motion was made by myself and seconded by Mr. Laws.
Mr. Thames, could I speak to that?
Yes, sir.
I spoke to Mr. Limbaugh about this. The state code and the Attorney General opinion specifically allow you to restrict sale of alcohol in these locations, but they don't apply to vape or any other businesses. So it's my recommendation that I adopt a standalone ordinance that just restricts those, not based on amending the ordinance that deals with liquor license, because that's a different and a specific statute authorized by code and by Attorney General's opinion. I don't recommend that you amend that ordinance. I've adopted a new ordinance that does the same thing that you asked for it to be, within the same distances, but not to be included in the liquor ordinance, because it has nothing to do with sales liquor.
Well, that being the case, when we need to send this back to Public Safety Committee to see that.
It doesn't, well, I sent it to you last Friday. It doesn't change anything that you did, other than it can't deal with liquor,
Mr. Jones?
as I discussed that.
Yeah, and that's a, quick, let's see, that is a, resolution or ordinance?
It's an ordinance.
Okay, so I would, in light of that, with the committee report, I'd make a motion from the floor to approve the prepared ordinance. It really is a standalone recommendation of what we've already made.
Second. All right, we have a motion from Mr. Jones, second from Mr. Moody.
So that's ordinance 25.
25.
2585. All right, again, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Would you like for me to read the ordinance?
Well, I understand. I would, yes, sir.
An ordinance to restrict the location of certain businesses within 500 feet of any school, church, or religious institution or facility located within the city. Whereas the city has previously adopted an ordinance 2582 restricting smoking within the city. Whereas the city desires to further regulate and restrict the location of businesses defined as vape shops and tobacco shops by ordinance 2582 previously adopted by the city council. Whereas the city has determined that based on public health and safety concerns, the location of vape shops and tobacco shops as defined by ordinance 2582 shall be restricted pursuant to this ordinance. Now therefore be ordained by the city as follows. That no vape shop or tobacco shop as defined by ordinance 2582 previously adopted by the city council on the 9th day of November 2015 shall be permitted or located within 500 feet of any school, church, or religious institution or facility. For the purpose of this section, the distance between the school, church, religious institution, or facility shall be measured from the closest point of the property in which the school, church, or religious institution or facility is located to the nearest point of the property in which the vape shop or tobacco shop is located. Section 2, all the ordinances or parts of ordinance heretofore adopted by the city that are inconsistent with the provisions of this ordinance shall be expressly repealed. Section 3, if any part of the provisions of this ordinance is declared to be unconstitutional or invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction, all the parts of the provisions shall remain in full force of effect. Section 5, the ordinance shall become effective upon its adoption by the city council.
Thank you, Mr. Kendrick. Do we have a motion and a second for unanimous consent?
Second.
Motion from Mr. Moody, second from Mr. Hawkins.
Who was the second, I'm sorry?
Mr. Hawkins.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Haynes?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Laws?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Lemon?
Yes. All right, Chair, we welcome a motion and a second for adoption of ordinance 2585.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Mr. Tang, second from Mr. Hawkins.
Mr. Holland?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Haynes?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Laws?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Lemon?
Yes. So 2585 also passes. All right, we'll move on to 06-1115, request for consideration of further public improvements on Columbiana Road. Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. The committee met on November 30th and voted 5-0 to recommend sending out for public bids, additional public improvements on Columbiana Road. So that resolution is approved.
All right. Then, so be it. All in favor, well, I'm sorry, that's the motion. Do we have a second? Second from Mr. Moody. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That's two, it's passed 7-0. Thank you, sir. 07-1115, request to consider budget amendments to fiscal year 15-16 budget for the year. It should read 14-15, shouldn't it? I'm sorry. 15-16 for the year ended 9/30/15, outstanding encumbrances, put forth by Melody Salter, Finance Director, and we need a report from Finance, Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, the committee voted 5-0 to recommend approval of the budget amendments to the 15-16 budget for the year end 9/30/15 encumbrances, and I would move resolution 152.
Second.
Motion from Finance, second from Mr. Hawkins. Any questions or discussions? There being none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is unanimous. All right, we'll move on to 16, 11, 15. Request for consideration of releasing lots 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, Block 3, according to the survey of Edgewood, addition to South Highlands, map book 6, page 83, which were acquired by the city by a public improvement assessment in 1936, requested by Claude McCain, Mac Moncus, Corley Moncus attorneys, and a report from Finance from November 30th, Mr. Jones.
Yes, the committee voted 5-0 to recommend approval of the releasing of the lien on the state lots, the pending payment of $950 to the city. So I move for resolution 15-153.
You know, I have a check for $950 million payable to the city, and the quick thing to do is attach a resolution conveying whatever interest the city has in those properties.
All right, good. All right, so we have a motion from Finance. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Thames. Any further discussion? Thank you, Mr. Kendrick, for that. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is unanimous. We'll move on to 17, 11, 15. Request for consideration of permission to purchase the alley adjacent to 414 Cliff Place. Fred Chasia, Greg Cobb with BEC. A report from Finance, Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir. The committee voted 5-0 to recommend approval to allow improvements pending a fully executed indemnification agreement. So we have a resolution prepared for that, resolution 15-154.
All right, we have a motion from Finance. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Thames. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is unanimous. We'll move on to 24, 11, 15. Request to consider and authorize the mayor to sign the revised fee schedule for the Alaris 457 plan, requested by Melody Salter and our Finance Director. And we have a committee report, Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir. We do 5-0 recommendation authorizing the mayor to sign the revised fee schedule for Alaris 457 plan as presented, resolution 15-155.
We have a motion from Finance. Do we have a second? Second. Second from Mr. Thames. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that is unanimous. Committee referral agenda is next. Chair would welcome a motion for approval of said agenda. Motion from Mr. Moody. Do we have a second? Second from Mr. Jones. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.